Today, we're going to talk about from good to great to unstoppable. Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in to this next episode. Today I wanted to go ahead and talk to you about being good to great to unstoppable. Now this method and this actual process actually came from a book that I was just reading about. From good to great to unstoppable. This actually came from a man named Tim S. Grover. He, in his book, talks about the process and the determination and the dedication that it really takes to be unstoppable. Now, there's three main things that he talks about in his book regarding the staircase to get to, from mainly, the main points he talks about is to getting from great to unstoppable. Now, there's three types of people that he talks about, right? The first person that he talks about is, well, there's two main people that he talks about. There's really three categories, but there's two that I'm actually going to focus on. That's the closer, right? And the cleaner, right? Those are the main two that I'm going to focus on. I can't really remember what the first one is right now, but the first one is kind of like just a standard first tier person. And when he talks about being unstoppable, what he really talks about is he talks about the cleaner. The cleaner is the person that actually takes responsibility for the decisions that he's made and for any mistakes that he's made along the way. So the cleaner never makes excuses. Tim S. Grover has actually coached Kobe Bryant. He's coached Michael Jordan, which was the guy that he talks about a lot if you're into basketball. What he talks about regarding Michael Jordan is very interesting. He says that Michael Jordan was basically like a class act. Like he would spend hours and hours with Tim just working on a single shot. From early in the morning until late in the evening, they would spend hours just working together, even after a game. And what he respected about Michael Jordan was that Michael Jordan really respected his fans. Like, for example, I remember him telling me a story about Michael Jordan and had permission to actually park inside of one of the stadiums out there in Chicago. But he didn't park inside the stadium. He could take his car and he could park it, wherever he wanted, but he didn't. What Jordan would do is that he would actually park just outside, right in front of the stadium where he was supposed to go in at, and he would get out so all of his fans who couldn't afford to buy a ticket could see him. And the reason why he did that is because he knew that might be the last chance that some people or the only chance that some people might not have been able to actually see Michael Jordan. And yeah, I know that Michael Jordan gets a flack about, his, some of the controversy regarding, his attitude and sometimes things that he may say, but he was a real cleaner when it came to really delivering and really narrowing down in his craft. He didn't accept any excuses, and he would do whatever it takes. He would train and train and train, and that's actually what made him the best. Talent, yes. Talent has a small portion to do with it. You need a bit of talent. Now, we're all born with talents, as I've discussed in my other videos. I'm not going to go in that today. If you want to go ahead and learn about what I talk about, your gift, you can go ahead and watch on another video. However, when you're talking about actually building a skill, that's something that's going to be more important than talent. Because if you take two individuals, one person is talented, but he doesn't train, right? The second person might have mediocre talent or not as much talent as the first person, but he trains relentlessly, like night and day, hours a day, 3 or 4 hours a day. It's said that most athletes who are professionals at what they do usually train on average about 3 hours a day every single day. So that's something that I personally do. I mean, I get up at 4 in the morning and I train. That's the first thing I do. I actually learned that from Tony Robbins. He talks about the hour of power. And so I spend when I wake up in the morning, I shower, brush my teeth, get my stuff ready, and I'm out the door, and I train for the first 3 hours of my day. But the point I'm making is that if you take two individuals, one has talent but doesn't train, and one is an okay person but trains relentlessly, the person who trains the most is the one who's going to win. If two individuals meet and they're competing for whether it be a job, whether it be a promotion, whether it be a contest, whether it be an opportunity, the person who's prepared the most will always win. And you can tell who prepares the most simply because of their level of focus. Sometimes you might not be able to tell on that note, but that's usually a really great indicator for someone who's really, really trained, and how they won't be fazed by anything that comes their way. There were people who couldn't afford to come see him. So he would stop early and he would get out of his car just before the stadium so people could actually see him. And he said that Jordan was his whole routine was purely practice. What a lot of people respected about Michael Jordan is, even though he did talk a lot of trash when he was on the court, and he would do little things to rattle people, and he would even do things to rattle entire teams. There's even stories of him when he had a home game, is that he would actually go, like before the actual game, just before the game they were about to play against their opponents, he would actually walk into the opponent's locker room and talk to someone that he knew briefly and just walk away. In fact, sometimes he would even it's rumored that he would even walk into the locker room and just meet someone and talk to someone that he didn't even know. Maybe it's someone that he just wanted to meet, and then he would just leave without saying a word. But they said that when Jordan walked into that room, everything went silent, simply because they knew that Jordan was a Class A player. In fact, Steve Jobs talks about Class A and the bozo effect, but basically, A players, basically in a nutshell, A players want to play with A players. A players can seem relentless, they can seem very, very isolated. A players can seem as the black sheep of the team. However, they work for the sole purpose of achieving the outcome, no matter what's required in order for that to happen. And if something goes wrong, they'll own it. They'll say, you know what? I screwed up. If I make a mistake, I screwed up. They don't blame anything on anybody else. Now, we're not perfect. So it doesn't mean that every single time they do something wrong that they're always going to be willing to apologize. Sometimes they just don't apologize because they realize they messed up, and they actually make up for it either through making a different decision or doing whatever they can, usually through execution, in order to make it right in some way. So if you're, for example, Tiger Woods, right? So we all know about the Tiger Woods scandal, but regarding his game, he practiced all the time. Since he was a kid, his father would go out with him on the field, and they would just swing and swing and swing and swing, and he would practice a lot of the same things over and over and over again. And when he was at the top of his game, when Tiger Woods was at the very, very top, well, we all know what happened. The scandal happened and his game fell, and those events that happened in his personal life began to affect his game simply because he lost focus, especially with all the media coverage and all the things that were nature and all these other mistresses that were coming out. So of course he had a lot of things that were on his mind, and all these other things were happening that affected his game. And then people were, other players in the profession, in the golf, and the other professional golfers began to winning. They began to, gain their own confidence and realize, hey, this guy's not playing like he used to play. So obviously they took advantage of that. And it wasn't that Tiger didn't have the ability. He did. We usually don't. Most people who are really, really good at their craft, they usually don't, have a series of great games and then one horrible game, and then all of a sudden things just stay bad from that point on. Usually if they have one bad game, usually the next game following is going to be phenomenal, right? Because they've taken time to actually understand what went wrong, or they're always looking for areas that they can improve in and areas that they can go ahead and constantly work on in order to become better. Remember, it's not about, you don't have to be the best at every single thing that you do. Just find one single thing that you're personally good at and work at it. Just work at that one thing. If you're great at being a mom, then work at being a better mom. If you are a great chef, then work at being a better chef. If you're really great with working at kids, if you're a teacher, then focus on developing that specific craft. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to, have tons of money. You don't have to have these things in order to be fulfilled, right? You can be unstoppable. You can be at the top of your game on whatever it is that you are personally good at and whatever it is that you are personally find valuable to you. Now, if you're a great businessman and it just so happens that that's your core strength, then you can dominate at it and the rewards will come. It might be fame, it might be money. If you're a great musician, it might be fame, it might be the legacy that you leave behind. If you are a great boxer, such as Muhammad Ali, who just recently passed away. So sincere condolences to the Ali family, and he will definitely be missed. I mean, one of the greatest of all times, and even is recognized worldwide, even when other countries, had even never heard of other things that were going on in the U.S. But I just want to send my condolences to the Ali family, and a phenomenal athlete. But it's a perfect example of someone who focused on his craft, and he just knew, he would just train, and he just knew that he was going to be the greatest, not just because he was a showboat, not because he talked a lot, but because he trained. He sincerely believed it, and by believing it and by embodying it and by holding himself to a standard, a highest standard that anyone would ever expect of him. When you're unstoppable, you hold yourself to a new standard. Now, it doesn't mean that you immediately are able to instinctively rely on that standard. Sometimes it takes time. Usually finding someone who's great at what they do and modeling them, finding that system, reading that book, taking that course, working on those exercises day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. And what's happened is that when you actually need that specific skill and when you need to execute on it, it'll just come to you. It'll just come. You won't even have to think about it, simply because you trained so much. I remember reading one of Bruce Lee's books called Art of Expressing the Human Body. And it broke down his entire training regimen, what he did on usually a daily basis, of all the exercises and things that he would do for 1 week. And he would do like 1,000 punches and like 500 kicks in every day. There's a very interesting quote that he says that, I don't fear the man who knows 1,000 kicks, but I fear the man who's done one kick 1,000 times. And that's where the repetition of skill comes in. When you're constantly repeating something over and over and over again, that develops you to that unstoppable level. That what makes you a cleaner, so to speak, when it comes to skill. If you only know a few things, but you repeat them over and over and over again, and these are foundational things that are involved within your career field or within your skill set or within whatever it is, whatever craft that you're working on, and you master the basics. If you're really good at knitting and sewing, and you understand the nuances of the types of, you may know the nuances of the types of hatching that might be involved. but there might be 50 different hatches that you can do. But however, there might be 5 essential ones that are the most important, and that's what you practice over and over and over again. That may be one of the many things that may be involved in actually developing the skill and something that you're really, really good at. But thank you guys for watching the show. Thank you guys for watching this episode. If you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe. To all the people on Facebook, go ahead and share. Yeah, you guys have been showing, actually, you guys have been showing a lot of love. But subscribe. I need subscribers. In fact, I'm probably going to be doing like a giveaway. Be doing a giveaway here soon, so we can have a way to go ahead and support you guys and show some love. But stay tuned for the giveaway. Haven't exactly decided what it is going to be yet, but when I do, I'll definitely let you guys know what's going on. Also, don't forget to follow on Snapchat, on Instagram, on Twitter, and thank you guys for following. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.